Hello, and welcome to today's review of The Mandalorian. Today we're going to talk about episode 3, The Sin, and we're going to keep this non-spoiler because there's something very particular I want to talk about today. I watched it back to back with my family today. We did all 3 episodes of The Mandalorian. And it all flows together. This episode I felt better than episode 1, and it was, before I get too far, this was directed by Deborah Chow, and I am super excited to see what she's going to do with the Obi-Wan show after seeing what she's done with episode 3. This episode actually kind of surprised me. It shouldn't have, in the way that I didn't think it was going to go down the way that it did, but I thought we were going to end up where we ended up. Um, and it's very hard not to talk about spoiling the first 2 episodes with this episode, with talking about this episode. Um, we get a lot more about Mandalorian culture in this episode, and that's kind of what really has drawn me to this series. Is I want to know about Mandalorian culture. I want to know why Jango and Boba Fett are being said throughout the Star Wars community to not being Mandalorians, because I never understood that, because they wore the armor, they acted like that, they acted what I thought Mandalorians acted like, and in Legends continuity, Boba Fett became Mandalore. And I believe Jango Fett was Mandalore too. But this episode really tells you why, at least Jango Fett, maybe not so much Boba, but definitely Jango Fett, why they're not Mandalorian, why they just emulate Mandalorian. And that's because of the helmet. They never remove their helmet. In Jango Fett, you see him at least once in the full armor with his helmet off. And that's not the Mandalorian way. Maybe they were Mandalorian at one point, but after that he's really no longer Mandalorian. So I really enjoyed this episode from the fact that it gave me what I wanted. It gave me more about the Mandalorians. So much so that even if there is a fight in between them, they always have each other's back. Always. Even when it's a detriment to the clan. It's very much a warrior culture, and I'm happy to see it the way it is. And Pedro Pascal is amazing at his portrayal of the Mandalorian. Maybe he's not even the one in the armor. I'm not gonna split hairs on who's under the armor, but I love the way that the Mandalorian carries himself and the way that he speaks to everyone. There is a possibility that not Jango, but Boba Fett was in his clan. I think his armor's there at very least, so it's kind of one of those interesting things that maybe it's Boba, maybe it's not. But after this episode, I'm leaning towards the fact that it probably isn't. Um, the music was perfect. It's got that whole lone gunslinger vibe, that whole spaghetti western kind of feeling to it that I'm really digging. And I think this episode works great standalone or binging with the other two. It was a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying myself. I didn't time this episode, but it was on par with the other 2 episodes, and overall they've been short. I had this anticipation of each episode being about 50 to 60 minutes, and we're getting more at like 35 to 40 minutes. And the only reason this is a downside is I wanted more. And when I see an episode like this, I just want more. They're shorter, and but the in a good way. Like the pacing is running well, and it keeps moving and there's no lulls. And so far, there's not like, oh, we have an hour to fill, so let's pause with the Mando and go talk to his first mate and see what they're up to. So in that aspect, the shorter episode is good for the series. But I've been enjoying it. I can't wait until next week's episode. I don't know how I'm gonna handle it, but stay tuned right here. I will have a review for it. But what do you think about Mandalorian culture so far? Go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Let's go ahead and keep it vague. Let's stay away from the spoilers. We'll get to the spoilers at the end of the series after I think it'll be in January when the last episode drops, and then me and Andrew will sit and we'll do a deep dive like we've been doing for the Star Wars films. But as always, if you look forward to seeing more about the Mando and if you've been enjoying what you've been seeing here, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And until next time, it is the way. Have a good night.